and welcome back to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. We're here with the recap of this midweek slog of Matchday 21. Slog it was. Do you want to just hop right into this the shambolic nature of many of these matches?
Yeah, nothing quite, gets the blood boiling like getting into these matches. Because some of them were so close.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, 60 minutes into Tuesday, I almost had every single thing right.
Yeah.
And I ended up only getting one right. So, did not quite go as planned.
A lot of things changed very quickly this match day. And typically not, and generally not in our favor. No. Starting off with Brentford and Manchester City. This one was, it wasn't great. It was a pretty uneventful first half, to be frank. Not a lot really happened. But then Manchester City came out in the second half and started getting things going all right. Erling Haaland had a good shot at a header in the 51st minute that he totally biffed. But then Phil Foden came in to save the day with his goals in the 66th and 78th, which was a really nice touch on the first one. And the second one was a little bit more lucky. He got it off of a rebound. But still, he was in the right place at the right time. And you think, okay, Manchester City, they found their footing. They're going to probably coast to the end here. No. They're going to pull. Now, at this point, we have to say, is this pulling of Manchester City or is it pulling an Everton? I still vote for Everton because I think they did this 3 times in rapid succession earlier this season. But 4 minutes after Phil Foden's second goal, Wissa gets a goal of his own to get things back even with just a fantastic first touch. And then Christian Norgard in the 90+2 caps off the quick comeback by Brentford to basically... With the other results that happened this weekend, I don't know if it completely shuts out Manchester City's hopes for a title, but it basically does.
Yeah, it's not looking too great. I will say you see a team like Newcastle, and they're on a 6-game win streak. They went from 12th to 4th. So it's not completely out of the woods, as we know. But, yeah, I mean, the more points that teams like Chelsea and City drop, the more likely it is that it's really just a 3-man race up the top from what it feels like right now.
Yes. Anything else to say about the match? Or you could go over to Erling Haaland getting an extension out for, I think it's 98 years. They've extended him on his contract.
Yeah, I mean, Haaland obviously did not play well in this match, but Foden, rock star, he seems to be back in form. But Haaland signing a 9.5-year extension until 2034. He said he's here to stay. He said he owes everything to City. I'm excited about it. Lots of transfers coming in. City have pretty much confirmed like 4 different transfers. So it hopefully will turn around. But someone like Haaland signing a 10-year deal, that's a pretty big deal. You don't see that anywhere else.
No, not in soccer.
So, no, definitely not. I think Messi had one that was like 8 years at Barcelona. But other than that, like it's cementing, and there's no release clause. There's no clause of like, if he's unhappy, he can get out of his contract. So hopefully that'll spark as he put it, the off-the-field issues are now at bay. He can focus on his on-the-field play, and we'll see how it goes. But as a City fan, I'm pretty stoked about it.
Yeah, and it's locking down a very good player in his own right who still has an upward trajectory on his skills. I mean, he's still very young. So he can still get, as crazy it is, he can still get better. And then we move
he went on a, a 5 or 6 match, like non-scoring run. And yet he's still 2nd or 3rd in the Golden Boot. So when he gets hot, he's unstoppable.
Which he could at any time. Anytime he could just kick it back into gear. If they feed him right and he gets his touch back, his first touch back, because he had it fail him several times in this match as well. Then City becomes very dangerous. They become a different beast altogether when Erling Haaland's firing on all cylinders. And then we move over to Chelsea and Bournemouth, another 2-2 draw here. Another draw that neither of us picked. Oh, no, this was your perfect pick. That's right. This was your perfect pick. Not quite the way that you would have expected it to shake out, with Chelsea being the one with the comeback. But still, it was... this one, Chelsea made it look so easy in the first half. If you just watched the first half, you would have expected this to end like, I don't know, 3-4-1 maybe. Chelsea just looked that much better in the first half, but there must have been some sort of great team talk there at the halfway point, because Bournemouth came out and was able to balance it out and eventually take the lead before Reece James got his 90+5 goal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I predicted it, but I did. Yeah, definitely, to your point, Chelsea first half should have put this one away.
Yeah.
So, again, Chelsea this season is just less week-to-week volatile. Now it's just month-to-month volatility. Last year, we saw them literally go from, let's beat a team 5-0 to then losing 3-0. This year, it seems to be every 4 to 5 matches they flip-flop. They should have won this one, especially at home. I think that they might take it out on the Wolves in this upcoming match week. At least I certainly predicted it, but I don't know. Chelsea, they've been a team that it's kind of been Cole Palmer some games, and that's it. So if that continues, one guy can't carry a team.
Nope. It is a team sport. There are 11 guys out there, and each one of them has to be playing well in order to win, typically. No one is of the level of a Messi in the Premier League right now, where he can just take over a whole match, it seems like.
Maybe Salah. But even then, it's more from he's taking over from the penalty spot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I mean, if you have any of those goals or penalties, you start to wonder.
Absolutely. But we'll move on from that one to West Ham versus Fulham, which ended up being a 3-2 victory for West Ham, which neither of us had. We both had, I think you had a 0-0 draw in this one, and I had a victory for Fulham. And how did this one strike you?
Kind of like the Chelsea match. Fulham kind of dominated most of the game. Yeah. Definitely had the more offense. West Ham, they were 100% shots on target. They scored them, put them on target, they scored them 3 for 3. So I don't know what that truly says about West Ham's revitalization underneath Graham Potter, but you got to give it to them. Winning at home after the atrocious skid they were on should flip a switch, especially against Fulham, who's playing well this season. So good on West Ham. This wasn't the game I thought they would turn around in. Yeah. I really thought it was going to be this upcoming match week, but kudos to them for being lethal in front of goal. Like literally just only 4 shots total, 75% conversion rate. That is, if they keep that up all season, they might win it.
Yeah, it was a weird match. Both of Iwobi's goals were really like accidental almost. Like he just put them in the right. They both were looking to be touched again, but they both found their way in the back of the net. And then Adama Traore came in and pulled a Wondolowski there. It could have been a 3-3 draw in the 90+1. But if you don't know, Chris Wondolowski for the U.S. men's national team like to sky shots from within the 6 over the bar in pivotal situations. So when you do that, we call it a Wondolowski.
I think, wasn't that against Mexico?
It was. He did it multiple times. I think one time it was against Mexico. Another time it was in the World Cup against Belgium in the semifinals, I believe. No, not the semifinals, the quarterfinals, when we were in extra time with them. I believe you pulled one off there as well. So it's, unfortunate for Fulham, good for West Ham. And we will move on to Nottingham Forest and Liverpool, the 1-1 draw, my perfect pick of the week. And, it was a pretty good match overall, I thought. Nottingham Forest was never outmatched, it felt like. It felt like a scrappy, like, Liverpool seemed better, but Nottingham Forest didn't seem overmatched.
Yeah, I mean, Nottingham Forest, I felt like should have pulled this one out. I mean, they played well enough too. First half, I felt like they played a lot better than the second half. They kind of came out with the intention of parking the bus in that second half, which a team like Liverpool, you can only do so much to not do that. But tale of two halves, Liverpool played better in the second half. They deserved to get a point. But, I mean, what can we say about Chris Wood?
Yeah.
He is a monster.
He's doing it.
I think they said he scored 13 of his goals have been the opening goal of a match, which is like the most, well above anyone else in the Premier League. So
for sure.
He scores early and often and typically decides games. So, again, turning out to be the signing of the season for them. Actually, I think they signed him last January, but still, first full season at Nottingham, he's competing for the Golden Boot. He's why they're up here.
And, the other note I had here is that the goalkeeper Sells for Nottingham Forest gave up the victory because he should have attacked the ball harder on the 66th-minute goal to Diogo Jota on the corner kick. But he saved the draw because there were a lot of good shots that he managed to save in the latter portion of that second half. So that was my note, that he gave up the win but saved the draw, which is an interesting dynamic on his part.
He does. I'm pretty sure he is far and away number one in the Golden Boot race. I think he was at least 2 or 3 games up. So he's been really good. Chris Wood, I just did the math. He scored 43% of Nottingham Forest's goals this season. So to say that you're a crucial player, it would be an understatement. So both those guys, I think they've proved they deserve some big contracts in the offseason. But
I guess he's the one that we could say for this season that if he's not performing, they're pretty much sunk. If Chris Wood isn't performing for Nottingham Forest, they aren't up this high.
Well, I mean, he was the one that from January to May, I think he scored 9 goals since they transferred him in, and he was the reason they stayed up. So if he could somehow be the reason they then win the Premier League, which I'm pulling for, that'd be nuts.
He's going to get a lot of money.
A Chris Wood tattoo.
No.
If he puts up 25 goals and wins them,
there we go.
I'm thinking it right now.
Go a little higher on the goals scored, and you'll be safe.
If he scores 25 and they win the Premier League, woof. I'm not trying to be safe. I'm trying to play history here.
All right. Okay. Well, you know what, guys? Hold him to it. Hold him to it. 25 goals and a Premier League trophy for Nottingham Forest, and we're gonna get a tat. I'm not. Well, not we. There ain't no we. It's just Keegan. It ain't a we. I'm not getting a tattoo. We'll move on.
Bring the wood, baby. Come on.
That's the tattoo. Bring the wood. That's the tattoo. All right. Then we'll move to Everton and Aston Villa. This is Aston Villa I recognize. 1-0 victory over Everton. A rather dull affair. Only note I have is that Ollie Watkins scored in the 51st minute, which it was what was it? It was a nice settle and then taps it wide. No, that was a different one. I cannot read that word. But yeah, not a lot to say about this one other than this is Aston Villa that I recognize. Everton helps because they're not very good. But yeah, finally a clean sheet for Emmy.
Yeah, the most notable insight for this one after the fact was Aston Villa have won both of their first 2 Premier League matches of the calendar year since 2009. So 16 years on, they are doing as well as they were 16 years ago. But Everton, I felt like this one, they showed a bit more vigor. It wasn't so much the defense, but there was actually some offense in it, as little as there were. But this was more of an even match than I thought. Like, I thought there were going to be some goals, but Aston Villa would still dominate. But, I mean, all the stats show and the play on the field show that it was even, outside of Watkins just getting the 1 goal that snuck through. So, maybe that's a good sign for Everton. I don't know, but they didn't look horrible.
No, they didn't look horrible. They didn't look horrible. I don't really think that any team looked horrible this week. There were moments that they looked horrible, and we'll get to Southampton here in a minute. But
Yeah.
we'll get to Southampton here in a minute. I guess the worst team was my Wolves, which we'll also get to here in a minute. But we'll move to right now Leicester City and Crystal Palace, our next one up here. A 2-0 victory for Crystal Palace over Leicester City. And for this one, there were 2 goals. Not a lot in the first half. Leicester had some chances in this one that Jamie Vardy would like to have back. You know, he messed up on a couple of chances that he would otherwise have scored in a typical scenario, but did not come through. And in the end, it comes down to Crystal Palace, a well-controlled goal there in the first one in the 52nd minute. Hold on, my numbers are bad. Yeah, 52nd minute by Jean-Philippe. And then Marc Guire with another great touch on a flighted ball. That was really nice with the assist by Eze. But yeah, it was Crystal Palace came in and got things done at King Power Stadium.
Yeah, Leicester, for as big of a buzz that their manager change came in, he pretty much got 1 draw, 1 win, and now they've lost 6 straight Premier League games. They're not looking good. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, have only lost 1 of their last 10.
Wow.
They've got 4 wins, 5 draws. So, I mean, this really was just a meshing of one team in actually really solid form, playing like we thought they would start the season, and Leicester just kind of lacking teeth. You make these manager changes mid-season for these relegation teams, and they just lose their identity. Mm-hmm. Like, Leicester did not look like they had an identity. Sure, they had plenty of possession, plenty of shots, but like you mentioned, a lot of them were just errant. A lot of them weren't. They lacked that, vigor behind it. I wish I would have struck it a little harder. I wish I would have not skied it. So, I don't know. They lacked identity in this one, and I think that's going to be tough to get back to create that fight for the final push.
Yeah, and this one really, really hurts a lot because it's a home match against another relegation side. But you've now given Crystal Palace 3 points, and that pushes them almost out of the realm of touch. You know, they're up at 24 points now, and you're at 14. Puts a full 10 points for a team that only has 14 points so far. That's a lot to give up. So this one they definitely would have liked to have at least get a point out of. But after Matchday 21 shakes out, I'll get to that here in just a moment. We now move to Newcastle, destroying my Wolves 3-0. First goal, I can kind of have some grace. It was a huge deflection on that one. That's why Jose saw. Didn't even try to get it. Then the 43rd minute, though, big miss. Strand Larson should have had an equalizer there just before the halftime, and I think that changes the whole tenor of the match, obviously. But then we move into the second half. Isak off of. I'm calling it a set piece. I mean, it was a throw in from the corner that looked like it was some sort of drawn up play, and we just kind of left Alexander Isak alone in the middle of the box, right above, basically on the penalty spot, and he put it in with ease. So that one was great. And then the Anthony Gordon in 74th minute was just ripped apart. They just shredded us, and it was not a good look.
Yeah, you said it best. I feel like there were a few chances Wolves had in the first half where they could have capitalized with one more pass, one more better touch, and that really set the tone for the rest of the match. Because Newcastle, with the form they're in, if they smell any sort of chance to kill the game in the second half, they do it.
Yeah.
Isak, I mean, he's now 8 straight games with a goal, so he's approaching Jamie Vardy's record of 11. There's nothing Wolves could have done.
No, it was
except probably. Well, they could have man-marked him better, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
This one, I predicted 3-1. Wolves should have had a goal, so shame on you for not giving me my perfect pick. But 3-0, the next few games for Wolves, just kind of take the punches, and you just figure out some sort of game plan for the games that you can win.
Which we talked about. I mean, this is a very tough stretch of schedule before we get to, I think it was the last 6 match days. There's some gettable matches. And that was before Newcastle was playing at this clip. Like we were talking about this back in December when they were just starting their run. Now you look at them and they're, 6 straight wins?
6 straight, 9 in all competitions.
9 in all competitions, 6 straight, and they've got who they have coming up. They've got Bournemouth coming up, so that's a bit more of a challenge. Obviously, it's certainly than my Wolves. Then we will move to the penultimate match. No, not quite. To Arsenal and Tottenham is what I meant to say. Arsenal and Tottenham, the North London derby, for that 2-1. How did you like that? It was a tense match for sure.
Yeah, one of those where, I mean, even Postecoglou mentioned at the end, Tottenham just lacked any sort of fight in this one. Like, they got a goal, great, but he was pretty disappointed in the way that they just didn't even seem to care about the fact that it was a derby. Like, even after their goal, that should have spurred confidence, they were just very tense and tentative.
Yeah, it was really against the run of play as well. Like Arsenal came out, they dominated. Then there was a little bit of Tottenham possession, three decent chances with Son getting the last one. But after that, they just kind of sunk back into themselves, like you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Solanke needed to get on the score sheet, and he did, just for the wrong team.
For the wrong team
in this one. So he heard our call just in the wrong net. Which proved to be a decisive goal because had he not owned goal, it would have been 1-1, presumably.
And then in the 44th minute, that was just poor goalkeeping on that one. You got to come out better than that. That was where he got dispossessed. Yeah, pretty sure.
Well, let's just look at so Tottenham. I believe they were 5th in the table whenever they fired Jose Mourinho, saying he wasn't doing well enough. He wasn't. The standard wasn't there. Players didn't like him, yada, yada. Tottenham is now 14th.
Yeah.
Could be 15th if Crystal Palace keeps their good run going. So it's like, what Postecoglou's not working out. You just got to admit it. Maybe you just hope he doesn't somehow get a relegation run going, but you sent that
infographic in our lead up to this episode. Was it in the past?
Yeah, Tottenham would be in relegation over the last 9 Premier League games.
Yeah, in the 9 Premier League games among all teams, Tottenham is the 3rd worst with 5 points out of the last 9 matches with a -3 goal difference. Only teams worse are Southampton and Leicester. Wolves are beating Tottenham in the last 9 matches. That's how embarrassing it is.
Yeah, they're good enough to be better than that. They have the talent, obviously, but clearly there's a stark disconnect between what Postecoglou thinks they should do and what the players are actually doing. Because when I sent you that stat, it was like, whoa, that puts it into perspective, but how bad they really are.
Yeah, and it's we had that comment that was like, no one's even talking about Postecoglou getting fired. Like maybe you should be. There's an accumulation of evidence here that things are not going right, and there's only so many changes you can make in the middle of the season. One of which is firing your manager, we were so hard on Manchester United for so long, and now Tottenham is outdoing them as far as being bad compared to where you should have be finishing. So we'll see how that shakes out.
But like the craziest thing is that they still have an 11 goal difference. Like they've scored 43 goals this season, which is 2nd most goals scored all season behind Liverpool. I don't know how they're doing so bad. Like it baffles me. 11 losses, the draws versus losses, like they're the only team outside of the bottom 4 with double-digit losses. So that could be, I don't know. It's insane how good their stats are versus just the fact that they're that bad. I don't know what else to say about it, but Postecoglou get some results now because I don't think you have much longer.
They scored 3 goals in 2 of their losses. So that helps pad that stat a little bit.
That's true. Yeah.
But we'll move on from there to Ipswich Town and Brighton Hove Albion. Didn't have a lot on this one. Karu Matoma got his goal. The ball kind of just found its way to him, and he snuck it into the net with a little, not even a worm burner. It was just kind of like a little dribbler that snuck underneath feet and some keeper arms and made its way in there. Ipswich Town just never really had a cohesive attack, it felt like. Liam Delap had a few opportunities, but he wasn't able to convert their errant shots. It just seemed like an uninspired performance for me from Ipswich Town.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. For me, it just looked like Brighton. They looked like the more mature team.
Yeah.
And they understood this is how the game's going to be played. We're going to establish our style. We're not going to let you. A lot of Liam Delap's goals have been like very quick counterattacks.
Yeah.
He's really like quick with the ball. He's smart with it. Brighton limited most of those. So the second goal was just kind of consolation. I didn't really feel like Ipswich was going to come back before that. But going up 2-0, 82nd minute, if you're not Everton or Man City, you hold on to that.
Or Southampton, as we'll get to, which we'll get to right now because they are our last match. A 3-1 victory for Southampton. You look at that scoreline, and you don't look past that. You're like, oh, okay, yeah,
victory for Man U.
Yeah, it's like, oh, they probably dominated the whole match, guys. No, it was way crazier than that. There was an own goal in the 43rd minute, a terrible own goal, and then we keep going. 82nd minute. Amad Diallo gets his first goal. He had just come on, didn't he? Yeah. When did he come on? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong side of this ledger. There we go. When did he come? Oh, I guess he started. I thought he got subbed in. Whatever. But he came in. He got his first goal in the 82nd minute. Like, oh, okay, they drew. And he comes just a few moments later. And it's just a little I really like the 90th minute goal, the little blooper from Eriksson. Is that right? Is that who chipped it over? Hold on.
I think so.
Yeah, Christian Eriksson chipped it over, and then he did a great job himself with the little touch on the blooper to put it past the goalkeeper, and then in the 94th minute. Newcastle was just totally defeated. They were totally broken down. Defense wasn't paying any attention. Got dispossessed inside the box, and Diallo was able to net the third for a hat trick in a grand total of 12 minutes to put them 3-1 over Southampton. It just, I mean, that may kill off anything that Southampton could have had going for them the rest of this season. That's brutal.
Yeah, my confession on this one was. Not 10 seconds before the 90th minute goal, I had a text typed out to you that said drawing Southampton at home, really tough.
Yeah.
And then right when I was about to hit send, he scores the goal, so I quickly hit
deleted
the backspace button. But yeah, I mean,
because Southampton did look good for like a lot of this match. They didn't have the last third kind of in there, but they were playing somewhat toe-to-toe with United.
Yeah, which has been like very on point with Southampton for like 12 of the teams in the Premier League. They'll play toe-to-toe. They just can't finish or score at all. I mean, it took Man U scoring for them to get on the board. And I think that's what they hope every match the teams can do for them.
Tough but fair.
Tough, but I mean, it won't even count as a goal for them. But it was fine at the end. I think Man U needed that inspiration. You already mentioned the goals. A couple of them were nice. But yeah, I mean, I benefited from this. I picked in a parlay the -1.5 spread for Man U. So that 90+4 goal really completed the old parlay.
I also had Manchester United +1.5. I also took that bet.
So when it went 2-1, I was like, oh, awesome. I'm going to get so close to this. But then, Diallo came through for us. But anyway, Southampton proves to be, again, the worst team in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Now, I don't see them winning any of the games coming up. Like this upcoming match week, you've got Nottingham, probably not going to win that. You've got Newcastle, probably not going to win that. Ipswich, February 1st, potential.
Maybe, but Ipswich is going to be fighting just as hard for that one.
It's at Ipswich, so probably not.
Yeah.
And then you've got Bournemouth. Yeah, it's at home. Maybe you'll get a point.
But even looking at my Wolves have 10 points on Southampton, and that is almost double what they currently have for their season total. So you can look and see some results, but just the history has dictated that they're not going to get that many points. I think this is basically down at this point to a 4-team race for 16th and 17th. Everton, Wolves, Ipswich, and Leicester. Those are the 4 guys at risk. Crystal Palace, I think, has found their form well enough that they're probably gonna get enough points to be safe. Tottenham, however, Tottenham's down only at 24 points, and they're not good. This Everton match this weekend is dangerous. If Everton can beat Tottenham or draw Tottenham this weekend, look out.
Yeah, Southampton, for pretty much the rest of the season, they're playing at a lot of really tough places. Besides Man City, they play at the top, 5 of the top 7 teams. And then against Leicester and Ipswich, they play at Leicester and Ipswich. So it's not how you want the schedule to be when you're trying to stay up.
So you tell me they had an easy front half of the schedule and managed 6 points so far. That's what you're telling me?
The front half, they should have done a lot more with, and they didn't.
That's not good.
So at this point, we're just rooting for them to break the record of Derby County, which I think is 11 points is the lowest.
I mean, we're past halfway. We're past halfway by 2 weeks now. 3 weeks.
But even at that point, Derby County had 7 points. Derby County was already ahead of them. They just then went on a 12-game losing streak. But either way, match day 21, a little unpredictable, but
hey, that's just going with the season. I went back and I looked at our numbers from last season, and the comparison does not favor us. Just looking at the totals, because I think I got them right here. Where is it? Let's see. Last season, come on, I have it right here. Come on, get over there. Yeah, last season, you ended up missing you were 165 and 214 last season. So you missed, 50 picks. We both have already missed almost 40 picks, and we've got a lot of season left to go. You're at 88 and 121, and I'm at 85 and 124. So we're already not doing so great compared to last season. We got some work to do if we're gonna match those results.
All I hear is that we're gonna start regressing towards the mean here coming. We've been on the low end. We're gonna start hitting it well. We're gonna close that gap. I know we said we were gonna close at the end of last season and we didn't get close. We're gonna close it.
Well, you were plus 126 units last season. And right now you're at plus 59. So we got, like I said, we got some work to do.
I'm breaking it. The issue with this season is every week for probably 15 weeks, I was betting on Nottingham finally losing.
Yeah.
And they just never did. Liverpool finally losing, just never did. So, and City's, I rode them like they were going to not go on a 9-game winless streak. But either way, I'm looking at the table here.
Yeah.
Liverpool play Everton, the rerun, February 12th, which is right off of an international break, I believe.
Yes, it is.
And then they play again 3 days later.
Oh, boy.
So that could be that stack where Liverpool start dropping a few games just because, Premier League game, international break, quick Premier League game, more games. So, and at that point, we'll already be in the knockout stages of Champions League. They're still in the FA Cup. So February, March is going to be where the top of the table, this is where Nottingham Forest and Newcastle are very happy to not be dancing in Europe too much because they can just focus on the Premier League. And I think that's going to benefit them come February, March.
Do they have? Oh wow! So I didn't realize that they stacked everybody into a single last match day on the 29th of January. That they've got eight. Yeah, they've got a full.
Yeah, it's all at
18 matches or whatever on the 29th. So, wow, that is a lot of matches that day.
Yep.
That is a lot. Okay. But that is for future us to worry about. Right now, we have now concluded our Matchday 21 recap. And we will be back on the other side of the weekend with our recap of Matchday 22 and with some picks for Champions League action, which will happen in midweek next week, before we come back for another weekend and then more midweek Champions League and then another weekend. And then we're on international break, or the February international break. It's
actually an FA Cup break. I just looked. There's no international break. It's the next international break's not till after March 16th.
Okay. Well, it's a break for us. It's like the mini break we had last week, which was 10 days. This is an FA Cup break. So, boy, they don't even get a break. Jeez Louise. It's a lot of stuff for them to worry about. So it's a domestic cup break instead of an international break.
Yep.
Okay. Well, that's... hey, we still get it off. So I'm not too mad about it. But until we come back next week, why don't you go ahead and... grab your coffee, watch some soccer. See you on the other side.